Hey everyone, Mike Harris, Director of Public Policy for Gun Owners Action League, and I am here with my friend Gino Recchia. What's up, man?
Good to be with you, Mike.
Yeah, good to have you, man. So who are you? What do you do?
So I'm Gino Recchia. I'm the owner of Mass Armament in Bellingham. It's a retail gun shop where we like to have fun, provide pretty much everything other than a range, training, sales, bit of gunsmithing, bit backlogged on that. We love to kind of poke fun at the state and push any boundary we can.
Yeah, I like that. And you guys are doing a particularly good job at that with a suit you guys have going. So do you want to get into that now?
Yeah, sure.
Let's do it. We'll just dive straight in.
Sure. Why not? That's the fun way.
Yeah.
I mean, that's how we started our suit, too.
Yeah, you know? I know. Dude, I love it. Everybody who can possibly push back against this stuff are welcome. I love it.
Oh, yeah. It's great to see a lot of people coming out and pushing back, and people that you wouldn't expect coming to like voice opinion and like give support. So it's real nice. I mean,
not to divert from us heading into the lawsuit discussion here, but how great was last Friday? Like I know it's not going to be, the most. We're not going to see a ton of stuff come out of it expectedly, but it was nice to be in the majority in that room for once. It did feel good.
That's definitely saying something.
It was definitely a moral
most
victory.
Most of the bills, like 80+% of them, were at least reforming a portion of it in a positive manner, if not repealing the entirety of Chapter 135, because it's egregious. But the few things that weren't were just kind of stupid.
Yeah. I mean, but there were the usual suspects were on there, like Marjorie Decker's bills and Dave Linsky's bills were on there. I mean, that's the usual stuff. But I mean, that was one of the things that I wrestled with at the beginning of the legislative session was, all right, how do we approach this? Do we just throw our hands up and just file a bill to repeal the whole thing? Or do we do that and go after other items like specifics that we think we can get done? Or do we just, try to reform separate pieces? So I went like scalpel and hatchet. I was like, let's just repeal the whole thing in one case, and then, repeal certain sections of it and give reasons why, and then fix the grandfathering dates, let us have suppressors, that kind of stuff.
I mean, you got to swing for the fences, but at the same time, you got to be realistic.
Yeah.
The likelihood of gaining the votes, whether it be in the House, the Senate, or combined, on a full repeal is, you got the winning lottery numbers because you got better luck with that. But
it's true.
It'd be nice if they did their job and understood the functions of the rules, but unfortunately, we've seen that not be a thing, for my entire life.
Yeah. I mean, that's the case in some spots, but there's also cases like we were just talking about a couple minutes ago before we turned on the microphones. Sometimes they use the rules too well or too much to their advantage. Like with the, we were just talking about like the timeline of how 135 came to be and how, this is a civil right. Even if you don't think it is, and how they used like these weird little known legislative rule quirks to, push things forward. And, one of the things that always bothers me is one of the rules of the legislature is that you can suspend the rules with enough votes. Yeah. And they always have enough votes.
I got so annoyed when that came out that they were suspending House and Senate rules, forming a secret committee that was not open to public, behind closed doors, with no minutes taken, no note, no nothing. I dug into that just going, how is this legal? Found the portions that they use, and I'm just like, okay, this sucks. They are doing it appropriately, technically, and it is a common thing in the process once you get to the nitty-gritty to kind of suspend just to finish it up. But
just because something's legal and done according to the rules doesn't make it right.
Of course not. Yeah. I mean, they weren't even close to the point that they should have done that because you had House and Senate completely going sideways. And to show that they weren't close to that, you look at the bill that was passed by the House, and then when it went to the Senate, and by the time it came off Healy's desk, there was whole sections that were completely changed.
Yeah.
And it's like, you didn't even bounce it back to the House to agree. No, all right.
Nope. No, and the fact that the Senate just kind of gave in and hollowed out their bill and just substituted the language.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just, but the thing that gets me the most, that bothers me most of all, is the when they called the special hearing of the House Ways and Means Committee to allow them to essentially take a time machine back to when this bill was originally filed, hollow it out, stuff the language in there, and then come back to now and pretend it had always been there.
Yeah.
It's just the vehicle procedure and just those like stupid little legislative dirty tricks that a civil right deserves a lot more than that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, the Second Amendment
Open to
for
steam.
decades has been, well, probably a century, has basically been a second-class civil right.
I mean, that's what the Bruin decision said. That's what Justice Thomas's exact words, and he's absolutely right. I mean, it's completely prima facie clear. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. It's really frustrating and annoying that we have Supreme Court rulings literally from the turn of the century till now, the last 100 years, where 90% of them are backing, bolstering, and saying the same thing. There's no real change in opinion. It's just addressing smaller portions and saying, no, you still can't do that. And yet we have Supreme Court ruling, and then they just enact whatever that's in complete twist and defiance. You know, and the legislators and even the courts take forever to adopt to the opinion. And it's like, once the Supreme Court makes an opinion, it's pretty much cut and dry.
Yeah.
The fact that they're not adopting to that is like, how are you even in your legal position after that?
Yeah.
You know, it took over, 120-ish years for the 14th Amendment to be put back into the Supreme Court to say that, the Second Amendment's covered under that. Like equal protections. But yet we still don't have equal protections.
No, of course not. Well, this is always one of those issues that they never wanted to touch. And I have a feeling that comes from a place of insecurity. Because this is I've always thought it was kind of funny that the Second Amendment was put into the Constitution in order to rein in the very people we are allowing to dictate how it's being used, if that makes sense. Like they get to tell us what we can use to fight them off if need be.
Well, the funny part is the whole point of it being put in place was to mitigate that, to tell them, no, you can't. Like, it was cut and dry, simple.
It's a guardrail.
Yeah. I mean, everybody looks at the Constitution and the framework and thinks that it gives us our rights. It's not.
Not everybody, just Tim Kaine.
Yeah. Well, the sad majority of the population and legislators and judges look at it that way, and it's just a right affirming in every way. It's a restriction on government. It doesn't grant.
Exactly.
And the fact that it was shortly thereafter, they added the 10 amendments, which were basically things that were violated by the British.
Yep.
9 out of 10 of them were things they dealt with. And they even saw a resurgence of, in peacetime, those things were starting to get cracked down on. People were scared, so they put the 10 amendments in to make sure that shit wasn't affected.
Yeah.
And nope, we still got to deal with it. It's a checks and balance, like every other thing in our government.
Yeah, exactly.
It's making sure that nothing gets out of whack.
This is it's supposed to be the ultimate check.
Yeah.
And for some reason, we're allowing them to dictate the rules of how the citizens get to use that check. I've always thought that was kind of a weird quirk of things. But anyways, there is a mechanism to petition for redress, and that is exactly what you guys are doing. So let's get into it. We took a big right turn off of this thing, so let's get back. Yeah. So Recchia et al. V. Healy. Where are you guys now? You filed in...
So we filed in federal court,
Yep.
I want to say 5 days after she signed the preamble. And Went to federal court. It went through its normal process. They appealed. We went back, rewrote our complaint, appealed again. The judge ended up dismissing with prejudice. And so now we're appealing to the First Circuit.
Yeah.
And we just put our appeal in a couple weeks back, waiting for rebuttal to jump through the same hoops. And one of the main frustrating points, again, it's a civil right under the Civil Rights Act of, 78?
The Civil Rights Act? I think it was 1964.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
But either way, the courts have a duty to make sure that they uphold and protect people's civil rights above anything else. And if a case even has the slightest bit of merit, they're supposed to put stops in place.
Right.
So the fact that this law has been running for over a year now and nothing's been even halted other than the parts the government couldn't figure out, like, it's nonsense.
Which is another thing that's concerning about the legislature. I mean, even if we get this thing repealed or challenged to a point where even like large sections of it go away, I'm not convinced they're not going to come back with some new version of the language that we'll have to challenge again.
100%. I mean, that's what New York did.
Oh, it's absolutely. I was literally just about to say that. It's absolutely what New York did. But I lost my train of thought. But I don't know. Suffice it to say, the agility of the legislature is worrisome on this stuff. Like the quickness that they're able to adapt to this stuff is really one of the things that freaks me out, because what you're referring to, the parts that they couldn't figure out, was the training requirements. Yeah. Right. So
training requirements, registration requirements, literally what everything meant, how to enforce it. I still to this day have law enforcement and other people ask me every day through phone call, through stop-in, what can't do, how, what. It's like,
I mean, that's what we're here for. I mean, we're looking at this stuff every single day in the office, trying to decipher exactly what they mean. And every time we speak to some official or some attorney somewhere, our opinion on our interpretation on things change, which is not the way that free people should be operating. But that's
is it changing in the aspect of how they're actually looking at it and you're understanding their viewpoint, or is it changing in how you're understanding the reality of it?
So I always tell people, so one of the main functions of Gun Owners Action League is to give our members the information they need to protect themselves from prosecution. So when you call here looking for an interpretation of, whatever section we're talking about, like out-of-state hunting issues and things like that, we're going to give you the most conservative interpretation that we come up with, because we're trying to make sure that you stay on this side of the steel bars.
Right.
That's kind of one of our main goals. Yep. That does not mean that we believe that should be the case. It's just one of those things where we're always going to give that to you. But on the other side of the coin, if you decide to take a risk and you have the tolerance to do so, that's the other side of goal. That's why we also exist, is to help you challenge those things should you run into a spot of bother. So our interpretations of these things initially came from our reading of the law and what we came up with after going through this thing for hours. And then it evolved once we started speaking to Second Amendment attorneys, shop owners like you guys, and different Ron Glidden, who does the book for the Leos, and then talking to law enforcement, finding out what they're being told, and then talking to and hearing what DAs are actually prosecuting. So our interpretation of things in some aspects looked very different from how the state was treating it. So that's kind of where it comes from. It's a whole process.
And the sad part is like there's so much mud in the water.
So much.
That trying to make heads or tails of it, every day it changes. I hear constantly that something's happened, someone got in trouble, this is now the interpretation. Or even worse, I know of multiple issues that have come up where people's property has been seized and
Yeah.
the department just doesn't quite know what they're doing, literally admitting they don't know how to proceed, and just leaving it alone and going, all right, we're not going to prosecute you. We're not going to charge you, but we're not going to give you back your property because we don't know. We're going to guess one day and the next day change it. And they're literally telling people, you have to prove to me that you're within the law and that you have a right for this. And it's like, well, that's not
backwards.
our structure.
Yeah, it's backwards.
You have to prove I broke the law.
And that's kind of what we were talking about this a little earlier, and I should probably address it a little bit, the assault style firearms prosecution stuff that we're talking about a little bit. And that's kind of, it's a similar situation where we've seen a couple of cases where folks have been put in a situation where they've run into law enforcement, had their property taken from them and their license suspended, and they're being charged with an ASF violation for something that in one case, this guy has a pre-94 Colt with a blue card, and they're making him go to court to prove that instead of just seeing it and not charging him for it, they're charging him, the DA's pursuing it and making it and turning it into an affirmative defense. So the burden is essentially shifting to you.
Yeah,
instead of the other way around.
$10,000 to $30,000 for lawyers.
Yep.
Get hemmed up for 6 months to a year at minimum.
And they're assuming
that he's good to go.
And they're assuming you're guilty instead of assuming you're innocent until proven so.
Right.
So that's kind of where that came from. We just wanted to make sure that people saw that and could if they choose to take some action to avoid such a thing. We're going to have a lot more details on that stuff moving forward, but it's similar to what you're talking about. I mean, they're moving forward with prosecutions and seizures of property first and then letting the courts figure it out, just like Dave Linsky said on Friday.
I mean, it's hard, like you said, because if you put too much information out, then it gets complicated. It makes people have to make maneuvers that they might not want to. They're trying to hash things out. So, I know of a current issue that I can barely touch base on because, again, it's trying to be worked out.
That similar situation,
I've had multiple people where they've come to me, they've talked to legal friends of mine, and they're just trying to figure it out. And the departments are literally going and saying, all right, we're going to charge you with X, Y, and Z.
Yeah.
And the legal comes back and goes, well, it doesn't apply here, here, and here. I go, well, we're not going to charge them with that. But now we're going to charge them with this completely different thing that we didn't even mention in the first place.
Yeah. So you're grasping at straws, fellas.
They're bouncing back and forth.
Yeah.
It's mind-numbing. I had a guy that had pre-banned mags that he bought from me, and for some reason they were trying to railroad him. They charged him with an assault weapon violation. Then they dropped that because the gun was fine. Then they charged him with the mags, and he had receipts. And just because the receipts had pre-banned, they said, okay. And it's like, first off, I'm glad they dropped it, but I can write anything on a piece of paper I want. I do my due diligence and make sure I don't pass anything off to customers. I know that we can legally do frames right now, but if you read the law, when the customer puts that gun together and registers it, they have assembled a non-compliant firearm. Therefore, they're now in jeopardy. So I don't transfer them. And I get people daily that are like, well, do you have kits? Do you have frames? Can I transfer one? I'm like, I can transfer it, but I'm not going to. Because if you don't understand the law, I'm not going to put you in the jeopardy because you think you're good.
Right.
And then you get a speeding ticket and your gun gets pulled and now you get gun charges.
Yeah. And that's one of the things that that Jim has been kind of upset about lately too, where he's on FCAB, he's on the Firearms Control Advisory Board. Yeah. So he's kind of got things before they happen. So one of the questions he had initially was, hey, this new registration, are you going to be able to register non-compliant restricted guns? And they said, well, yeah, we can't tell you that you can't. Yeah. We can't discern what's what. And he's like, well, How is that fair?
Yeah.
He's like, a guy goes out and purchases something that he's not supposed to purchase from a dealer and goes to register it. Now he's a criminal.
Yeah.
Without realizing it. It's like, oh, well, he should have known the law. It's like, yeah, well,
You don't know the law.
you guys didn't. You're making it possible for him to transfer something or report or register. It still breaks my heart that we have to say the word register in this state, but
it offends me every day. I got to the point where I was literally yelling at the FRB through email because they can't manage to function a website that they've had up for a decade.
I mean, they are purposely understaffed and underfunded.
Oh yeah,
on purpose. They are deliberately dysfunctional.
Yeah, and the sad part is they got more staff and somehow got worse. And because of Chapter 135 going into effect, they decided to just stop answering the phones. And now you only can communicate through email, and that's honestly why I sent them a quite angry letter.
Gina, I'm not convinced that didn't come from the top.
Oh, I wouldn't be surprised.
So think about it this way. We haven't seen any advisory opinions from any state agencies for a year, since November of last year on anything. And like you said, I mean, I'm hearing similar complaints from a lot of people about FRB not being responsive to stuff and not taking phone calls. So I'm
pretty
sure
the police, even the ATF.
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Like when I had my ATF audit last June, the agents were actually discussing the fact that even they're not getting guidance from the state, so they don't know how to look at this stuff and help and interpret. The FRB's not saying anything to them. They can't communicate with them. So like they're just hiding behind a wall going like, nope, we did it. Yeah. Just don't have guns. That's the safe answer.
That's what this all is. I mean, that's what 2016's kerfuffle was all about too. Yeah. You just scare enough people into compliance, and then you don't have to worry about making it the law.
Yeah, and it's
you just codify it later on.
It's always been that way. You could call into the state agency and ask them a question. They say, well, we can't give you that answer. We're not going on record. So you have to figure it out for yourself. So if I read it, interpret it, act in one manner, and it happens to not be the manner you think, now I get charged, go through the courts, and, well, you should have known better. Well, I got told to figure it out for myself.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm learning algebra at home.
Yeah, homeschooling for gun bros. But no, dude, that's another frustrating thing is exactly what you just said. I mean, we're having people call us and say like, hey, I talked to EOPS about this thing. I asked them a question and they said, oh, well, you need to talk to an attorney. It's like, well, wait a second. Don't you guys know what you're supposed to, like, don't you guys have an opinion on how you're supposed to be enforcing the law that you've been given? Like, you guys are the ones writing the regulations for this.
But they
on how to enforce it.
Because if they give an opinion, now that's out there, and that can be used in court.
Right.
So they're told specifically not to say anything.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right. That's absolutely what it is.
I've got varying opinions when I've pulled it out of them. You know, we had an issue where...
Because they're confused too, dude.
Yeah. Well, there was a time when, you know, one of the main instructors at the FRB was instructing dealers to register firearms that if it came with a low-capacity magazine, it was a low-capacity gun.
Oh,
and it's
boy.
like, well, the old MGL under 140 had definitions.
Yep.
If it accepted if it accepted a detachable magazine, then it was high capacity. Simple, easy.
Yeah.
Like, so I had arguments with other dealers because they're like, no, this is what I was told. It's like, okay, then how about the MAC 90? It's a Chinese AK that was imported and it only came with 5-round mags. Is that a low capacity gun? Well, no. It's like, all right. Follow your logic all the way through the process. They ended up having to actually send out a email correcting the fact of like it was instructed wrong. But like that happens all the time. We're told X, it's Y, it's B, it's Z. You know, when I got yelling at the FRB for the registration system going down, I literally told them that I was going to use the old paper form if they didn't fix the problem sooner than later, and said some unpleasant words. And they basically came back and said that I had to abide by the law, which they were at the time actually quoting the new 135 regs, which weren't even in place because this was a couple months back.
Yeah.
And they said that I had to abide by that. And I was like, well, that's cute. Here's the federal regs on it. So I sent them FOPA and the U.S. Codes on it, and they just ignored it. They said that if I didn't abide, my dealer's license eventually could be potentially in jeopardy and be pulled. And I told them, I reaffirmed that I will follow the law to the letter and, until it's changed in courts.
Yeah.
Multiple ways. And they still ended up contacting my local law enforcement, who begrudgingly sent down an officer to basically tell me, like, you got to follow the rules. And I'm like, damned if I do, damned if I don't. Like, you guys have the duty to uphold the Constitution, and I'm not going to let them, like, restrict people's rights because they can't function a website. And I told them I was going to do it, and they still were going to push back on it. And I even offered to show him all the emails. He was there because he was told to be there.
Of course.
And it's sad because the FRB, they're not even, they have no right to tell the issuing authority to come down and make corrections. But nobody knows really whose role is whose.
Yeah.
So the issuing authority gets a note from another government agency that says, I got to go do this, when it's their duty to figure out whether or not I'm in violation.
And let's call a spade here. You following the rules that day when it was shut down meant that you were supposed to stop doing business.
Yeah.
That's what that meant.
Yeah, I've had multiple times when the system would go down and I literally couldn't process a sale because there was no way to do it. It happens all the time.
Is there another industry that this happens at? Can you think of one? 'Cause I can't.
I can't think of a system that...
I mean, I guess maybe the FAA, if that goes down, you don't want to get on a plane, but that's not the same thing.
Yes, I mean, you can still probably buy the plane, though. Like,
yes. And you can buy plane tickets.
Yeah, nothing else is as regulated.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe drug industry, but, like, even then, they have alternative means.
Yes.
So, like, you have analogs when your digitals go down. There's protocols for it, but yet we don't because it's just a hodgepodge nightmare of state restrictions that are just made up.
Which is everything that this law was supposed to not be.
Yeah.
Remember when they first went through it?
And
yeah.
Bring it all together and, simplify things so we all understand. But instead, they took the language from a dozen other shitty bills and from all over the country that didn't pass and or fell apart, stuffed it together, had bad language in it, had constant conflicts, and ramrodded it through to the point where a year after its passing, 2.5 years after its initial push, still is just a
uninterpretable mess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, when we first
158 sections.
Yeah, when this first all started to go down, I'll like full disclosure. When I worked in the legislature, the last rep that I worked for was Dave Meradian. We came in. I worked for him when he was a freshman. And when you're in the bullpen, when you're first elected to the House of Representatives, they stuff you all in this big room, and until you can get your office assignments. We were at the same table as Mike Day. So I actually got to know him and had kind of a relationship with him at the beginning. Like we were kind of buddies. I liked him. And then I know. And then
I can understand that.
He got assigned to do this. And I said, hell yeah, this is great. I'm going to get to call and work with his office. I know his staff. Like we've been friendly for a long time. And it could not have gone more sideways.
So when you say he got assigned to do this,
yes,
what do you mean? Because I've been trying to figure out, because looking at Day's record, none of his previous stuff, actually, while I didn't agree with everything, it all had some logic to it. It was all about
he's not a dumb guy.
People. Yeah, I mean, there was elderly protections, handicap protections, things that like I was like, all right, this dude's pretty solid.
Yeah.
And then 135 start with him, and it's just like, that's some left field stuff. I've assumed since the get that he was told to do it, but
so he was. So ordinarily, this bill. I mean, look at last Friday. Every single one of those bills was firearms related. ordinarily, firearms-related bills and the regulation of firearms goes through the Committee on Public Safety and Homeland Security. Licensing issues and like manufacturing issues, like that's why the ghost gun stuff went through judiciary. That stuff will go through judiciary. This case and like hunting stuff goes to like natural resource protection, all that stuff. Okay. This case was weird because the omnibus bill for firearms, like all aspects of it, instead of going to public safety and homeland security, went directly to judiciary. Mike was still a relatively new legislator to be given the chair of such a huge committee. So I don't know. I like I said, he's a smart guy. You have to respect your opponent. Yeah. He's no dummy. He's good at what he does, and he runs a tight ship in that committee. Like if we didn't have such a vehement disagreement on ideological lines, I would say he's probably one of the better chairmen in that building. Yeah. He runs a tight ship. I have a feeling Ron Mariano said, hey, do this and do it this way, or you might not be chair of judiciary anytime soon.
Yeah.
So
it definitely seemed
that's
like
what
his string
I think.
got pulled.
Yes.
And it was just thrown at him saying, frame this out. Yeah. You're the puppet head. Go for it.
And I think Bruin...
It doesn't match anything. And even his own wording. Like,
yeah. I don't think he wrote it.
No.
I don't think he wrote the bill.
I don't think his entire opinion was his own. Because if you look at it, when you go on his Facebook, I trace back just to like see about public announcements and information. You go on Healy's Facebook page and Instagram, there's almost nothing relating to firearms.
Yeah.
Nothing. But you go on Days, and about 6 months before Chapter 135's announcement, he actually has a post like ranting congratulatory to the state police and thanking them for, all the great work they do and boasting about how Massachusetts is the safest with the lowest gun crime, yada, 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 which is all good stuff. And 6 months later, 1 month after Healy getting inaugurated, all of a sudden his gear changes heavy that because in light of Bruin, he wishes, and further gun violence and all this calamity that we need to push for this. And he starts his campaign.
Yep.
And it's like, all right, what happened in that 6 months? So I went and I looked at national data. I looked at state data. I looked at previous year data, all of the above. And it is the most status quo time frame. Yeah. There is no shift. In fact, there's a minor drop in homicide rates and violent rates, but it's like negligible. And yet all of a sudden there's this huge outcry.
Yeah, I think it's a few factors. The Overton window moved again, culturally.
What's Overton?
The Overton window is like it's the cultural window of what's deemed to be acceptable.
Oh, okay.
You know I mean? So it's like the zeitgeist,
that's
I guess.
Pushed way far.
Yeah, so the Overton window moved enough where they could take the next step. I mean, I gave Linsky a hard time about it last week. Every 10 years, there's been an omnibus bill. I mean, they had one in 94/98, and then 2004, 2014, and now 2024. So this is just the next step. It's just the next set of regulations. Bruin happened that ticked off, every Democrat
that sent shockwaves.
Yeah, every Democrat that didn't want Neil Gorsuch on the court got pissed off by that one. And then the former attorney general who set the new law, I shouldn't call it laws, set the new rules about assault weapons in Massachusetts in 2016, got elected to governor. Yeah. So now they can codify all this stuff with her blessing because she had already said it. So I think it was just a perfect storm of BS.
Yeah, and the downside is like...
The downside is huge, Gino.
So many downsides. But, they do what they want. They use twists. Everybody is so bombarded with so many different things that it's hard to make heads or tails. Even when I went through my first round at the courts for my federal case, the judge was confused. And like, this judge is a decent judge. He's been around for eons. He was appointed to the
federal district judge. They're not usually dumb.
Yeah. He literally writes the book on protocol for Massachusetts and federal courts. Like literally the book that
the book they use.
Yeah. So like he knows what he's doing. And yet he was confused at the murk of the case on where we were pushing, what we were doing, and he didn't seem to quite have a full understanding of it, to the point where he was like, I don't understand like how the governor is applicable in this case, even though there's plenty of precedent for that function, because all she did was sign it. It was like, well, A, all she did was sign it, but B, it's her duty to make sure that only legal things are done, not unconstitutional acts. And also, it's not that she just signed it. She absolutely was the driving force. It starts 1 month after her inauguration. She was pushing in 2016. She's been anti-gun since she opened her mouth.
Yeah. And another...
It's annoying.
Another, I think, piece of evidence to support that is, so I was working for Representative George Peterson back in 2014 when that bill came around. He was kind of like the two-way guy in the House at that time. He's a huge sportsman, former professional fisherman, like one of those like big boat guys that goes out for months. So he was like the guy that we called. And I remember we got a call from Jim Wallace saying, hey, this is happening. Put in a call. First person George called was Ron Mariano. And they worked through this, and he was completely reasonable. Like it still doesn't make sense to me that he was the guy who pushed this. It's weird to me, because he was always kind of the rational guy that we could go to and speak with about this. And then all of a sudden he shaves off his mustache and he loses his mind. It makes no sense.
Yeah. I mean, I think a lot of it is, it depends on who's in office and who's pushing down, because you just get a lot of company men and a lot of people that are just administrative drive. Like, I'm so happy that I got the ATF agent I did for my audit. I would pay money to have him come back regularly just to do a checkup and make sure that I'm not making mistakes. He was fantastic. But on the other side of that coin, he is still an agent that's a company man, and he even told me that, like, if he had come through when Biden was in, absolutely, my license would have been pulled, because they had a zero tolerance program,
that was
which, like,
insane.
he pulled licenses from dealers he worked with for over 20 years because they had one clerical error. And he had to, because that was the way the administration said. If there's an issue, you report it, and they're done. And then you got to fight it and go through all this other rigmarole. And, like, the dude's really good, but still at the end of the day, he's still going to just do what he's told. And I get why, but at the same time, like, I got a hard time abiding by things that I don't believe in. It's why I didn't join the military. If I get told to do something that I don't think is right, I'm going to voice it and just be a nudge.
Dude, I'm the same. I mean, look at what we do.
Yeah.
We are a lot of people like to say that they're anti-government activists, but we work every single day to protect the ability of you to actually go up against the government.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not anti-government.
Well, you know.
But I am, because it's made up of people and they suck at their job. Like, if people actually tried and did their job well and made sure they held themselves accountable, I'd be all for it. But, like, I make the joke that, just like communism, it's great on paper, and then you put it into practice with humans. On paper, it's pretty good.
Is it great on paper, Gino?
Everybody works together. It's all for the greater good, and then you put humans into it, and they have this thing called greed and, jealousy and stupidity, and all of a sudden it just falls
power.
apart. Yeah. Well, but people are going to stoop lower to pick it up, unfortunately.
It's true. The amount of joy I've seen on the faces of government employees in ruining someone else's day is definitely jarring.
Yeah. there's I can understand it in some ways, just because like it's a hard job. I get it. There is a whole bunch of back and forth. It is bureaucracy. Bureaucracy is mind-numbing, and you are one voice trying to push against 100 others, and it's all a conflict. But,
But hey,
if we just managed to hold basic accountability, it would be so much better.
absolutely.
Right.
But that's what we're fighting for, is basic accountability.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I am happy though that like the internet is granting us the capability to really put the power back to the people, because back in the 90s when they put through Chapter 140, 98, the internet was still in its basic infancy. Some people had access, but the info wasn't there. And it was, work technology. It wasn't really individual research.
It wasn't what
tech.
it was, yeah.
And,
it wasn't what it's become anyways.
Yeah. And if we had the same tech then, you probably wouldn't have seen Chapter 140 go through. You probably wouldn't have had the 94 assault weapons go through.
No, not at all.
There's a reason it was allowed to die in 04, and there's multiple. They don't specify multiple portions of it, but it should have went to the courts. The courts should have cleared it out and easily ruled on it. I mean, even the cases in the courts that have been against the complaint have still been backing. Like Miller in 39.
Yep.
Basically, Miller's a negative case, but I pull multiple things from it that a lot of people just kind of glance over. I'd love to point out, like, back to registration.
Yeah.
Miller points out that you can't force a criminal to register a firearm because they're already restricted from having such.
Exactly.
So it's self-incriminating.
Yeah.
So unless the registration has no legal backing, which that's actually what they did for the NFA, they changed it that if you put the paperwork in, and you can't have that item, you're not penalized. So before you would be penalized.
Right.
But because if you're a criminal, they changed that because of Miller. Now, they're trying to sit here and say that we have to register our guns so that we keep everybody safe, and it's only applicable to law-abiding citizens.
Yep. Exactly.
And then
It's 100% true.
yeah, I mean, in Chicago, they even ruled when they banned gun shops within the city limits that the state has a burden to prove, and this is actually out of alignment with Bruin, but like to prove that there is more of a burden on the criminal aspect than the citizens. And moving the gun shop out of city, just because it forces criminals to go further, also forces the public. So it's an undue burden on the people that's even greater than the criminal aspect.
Yep.
And all of 135 is that. Like,
Absolutely.
There's almost no ramifications for criminal activity.
None
It
whatsoever.
just makes criminals.
Exactly, and it's just further burdens on law-abiding citizens. We're once again blamed for the actions of the non-law-abiding.
Oh, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
the amount of laws that we have bombarded the legislators with, the rulings and regulations that they just kind of dust off like, I don't know about that, so I don't care. And it's like, the Supreme Court's made these decisions, and the federal law has determined these things. No, you don't want to.
No, you don't care for that.
Remember that whole thing you said before you even entered the building that you will support the Constitution? You took an oath.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oaths, not what they used to be.
Oath schmoth. But all right, man. That being said, this is fun.
Yeah.
I appreciate you coming out.
I appreciate you inviting me. It was a ton of fun, and I'd be happy to come back and play anytime. And
Absolutely.
so
all right, one more time. Gino Recchia, Mass Armament. Where are you guys?
Bellingham, right on 140, above Crystal Pools, next to Pam's Diner.
Hell yeah.
We're there generally 6 days a week, and actually, upcoming season we'll probably go 7 days throughout the snowy times.
Cool.
But Monday through Friday, 10 to 6, Saturdays 10 to 3. If I'm not there, it's because I slept in or I'm yelling at the state. But the guys will be there and swing down. We have a website with everything that we have for inventory. It's updated almost daily.
What's the website?
Massarmament.com.
Perfect.
Yep. So we don't have pictures, but we got lists of
all right.
all the firearms and everything. So if it's on there, there's a 90% chance we got it.
Yeah. And you have Google. just copy and paste.
That's difficult. You want people to do work?
Yeah. Hey, hey, the state expects us to do that every day. You kidding me?
Yeah,
If you're not a legal scholar, you're going to jail. But, all right. Thanks again, Gino. Appreciate it, man.
Likewise.
And again, Mike Harris from Gun Owners Action League. We'll see you later.